The NES had over 700 games, and collectors have gone through its list again and again, so there is no more hidden gems out there. But I am the game collector, and this is Second Opinion Games, and today I'm going to count down the top 10 underappreciated games for the Nintendo Entertainment System. Also, at the end of this video, please stick around because I'm going to show you an awesome Super Mario Bros. Glitch that most people have no idea ever even existed. And it's worth it. So let's do this.
Second Opinion Games.
Number 10. Iron Tank. Iron Tank is one of those slow-moving tank games where you really have to plan ahead. There are lots of different paths to take on certain levels, and even POWs to save. But where the game really shines is its power-up system, allowing you to turn off and on different power-ups all the time, and managing those power-ups are very important. They are scattered all over the place, so don't just save them up and never use them. Instead, use them properly, and you'll be working your way through this game in no time. As long as you plan ahead. Seriously, you're in a big slow tank after all. Number 9. Captain Skyhawk. Now we're going way too fast. Captain Skyhawk takes off and it just keeps on going insanely fast. At least once you clear this very first stage, which is very difficult, then you could end up doing dogfights Afterburner style, and it does it best of any of the NES games. In this game, you have to even dock on a space station. Why in space, I have no freaking idea, but then you could power up your weapons and go back to Earth and notice that you could climb or dive and moderately control your speed. Sometimes you have to dive bomb your targets, sometimes you have to save prisoners, and this is a super fast game. Why is it underappreciated? Probably because that first level is so darn difficult, most people don't want to spend the time to get used to how the game's played. But if you do, you'll be a Top Gun in no time. Number 8. G.I. Joe. G.I. Joe in the 80s dominated the toy market. So why this game wasn't the biggest thing in the country, I have no freaking idea. Maybe because the Turtles started to become more and more popular, pushing G.I. Joe out. But this is a great game. Very much like Contra if it had a life bar and let you swap in and out people, Ninja Turtle style. This is absolutely brilliant gameplay. Look at the movement in the trees. Even Contra couldn't pull that off. And you get to fight a super awesome fighter jet. This clearly should have been a massive success, and it did have a sequel, but it certainly went underappreciated. And now you know. And knowing's half the battle. Number 7. The Little Mermaid. One of Disney and Capcom's classic games on the system. It sounds great, the graphics look pretty good. Most people completely took a pass on this and instead went with Darkwing Duck or Chippendales. Well, those games are also really good, but this one is completely forgotten about. Now I know that pretty much no one likes water levels in video games, so the idea of a video game being one entire water level is just cringy to most people. However, if they took the time and gave this one a shot, they would realize it's the real Capcom deal. Number 6. Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu. Now at the time, this went completely unappreciated, but now it's starting to get a little bit more praise. Jackie Chan Action Kung Fu is a absolutely terrific game. You run from left to right and beat up everything in between, including frogs, which can give you power-ups, which are super awesome moves, generally limited to just a couple, and Castlevania style push up and the action button to use, and Jackie Chan is a crazy martial arts master. There are some auto-scrolling levels that will truly test your skills and timing and jumping and total reflex control, but the game is excellent. Awesomely huge boss fights in there as well, and Jackie Chan brings his own sense of humor to the mix. It's pretty much a must-have. Number 5. Adventure Island 3. Now, the Adventure Island franchise has always been fairly consistently good. However, when the third one hit the scene, pretty much no one really cared. Even if this time around, you could ride on the back of freaking dinosaurs. The game control is tighter than ever, except when you're on the dinosaurs. Then things get a little slippery because you're kind of overpowered and probably fall into a pit and die. Lots of one-hit kills, continuously eating fruit to fill up your life bar, and this game will challenge your skills and be an epically good time with it. Let's hope Master Higgins can save the day again. Number 4. Tallis. Tallis is by far the most underrated action RPG on the freaking NES. You wake up in a post-apocalyptic world where a computer just lets you out. You talk to a guy, get a sword, talk to someone else, get some money, run around, level up, then maybe buy a horn, wake up a guard, he gives you a key, you start a windmill, something blows up, opens up a path, and that's all in the first 15 minutes of the game. It is freaking huge, and eventually you end up with 4 different swords, and you have to switch them back and forth to kill different enemies in the game. The game is super complex, and will definitely take you a rather long time. It can also be found on the Game Boy Color, where they completely changed the whole last level of the game, but the original is still the best, and with a battery backup, well, you don't have to write down those super long passwords anymore. Number 3. Wario's Woods. Now, this is the first time Toad essentially got his own game, even if it is just a puzzle one. And boy, is it ever freaking awesome. Of course, Wario is your number 1 enemy in this game, and you have to take bombs and drop them to destroy things. You need at least 3 things in order for them to die. Whether it be 2 creatures in 1 bomb, or 2 bombs in 1 creature. You could sometimes get as much as 5 things, where then you could kill it, and it gives you a gem, which when you destroy that gem, destroys all of that 1 color on the screen. Now, if the game doesn't sound hard enough, occasionally it will switch to evil mode, where then it will just drop tons more enemies down on you and more bombs, and you have to move super fast and be super smart if you want to beat the 50 levels of this game. And it is not gonna be easy. Why hasn't Toad gotten more games anyway? Number 2. Felix the Cat. What do you take when you get a culturally irrelevant cat and put him in a platformer game and mix up goofy magic and tanks? Well, one of the best platformers on the entire system that no one's played, which means this game has gotten relatively rare and rather expensive. It is kind of easy to veteran game players, but to anyone who's just picking up the system to give it a little bit of a go, you're actually going to have a little bit of a rough time trying to figure out what to do, even if it is mostly just running to the right. Felix the Cat is freaking awesome, especially when he powers up, and there are tons of different power-ups in the game, a la Mario 3 style. If you get hit, you revert back to a previous form. I absolutely love the tank form, and then as you play through the different levels of the game, you could get different things altogether. This is an absolute must-have, and if you see it for $1 in the bargain bin, don't pass it up. Number 1. A Steini Axe. Seriously, I found this game in a bargain bin, made by some of the people that made Legendary Axe on the TurboGrafx, and you have a game just as good as that, and completely underappreciated. Most people probably took a pass on it because they couldn't pronounce its name, or the laughable box art that it came packaged in. This is a side-scrolling, sometimes vertically and sometimes just left and right, game where it makes you think about your choices very wisely, similar to Castlevania. You also have a magic system where you could shoot out some fireballs. simply pressing up in the action button, just like Castlevania. Now, sometimes enemies seemingly come out of nowhere, so patterns and learning the game inside and out is absolutely essential to this game. So definitely give it a try. Some people love it, some people hate it, but one thing's for sure, it's very, very underappreciated. But that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching. Now it's time for your Super Mario Bros. 1 tip, and I'm going to perform this task on the SNES Classic because that gives me a reason to turn it on, and it has save states. So basically, if you can make it to Bowser with fireballs, manage to jump over him, and then jump and hit him at the same time as the axe, you will lose your fireballs, but remain big. Start up the next level, and you'll get a mushroom, and become small. The next thing you get is a fire flower. This allows you to be small with fireballs. It's kind of amazing this small Mario in fireball form is even in the game. Why did they even make a sprite for him? I know they didn't make him a sprite shooting fireballs because you have to turn big for that brief flash of a second every time you throw a fireball, and it's a little disjarring. But maybe the developers here had another trick up their sleeve and it got cut late in the game. However, this is something I like to call Spitfire, and no one seems to be talking about it whatsoever. So, hopefully you enjoyed this tip, and until later, I'll see you again, guys.